So there are thousands of reasons we choose to live in the places we do. But did you know, according to census studies, an amazing 40% of Americans never leave their hometowns, while 64% have no plans on ever traveling outside of the country, and only 36% of Americans even own a passport? That's crazy to me. I was one of those. I didn't get my passport until 2013. In this episode, we're going to talk about why I moved to China. Hi, I'm Joey. I'm an American from a small town in northeast Arkansas. But after growing up in the middle of nowhere and spending my 20s in New Orleans, Louisiana, I now live in Beijing, China. On this show, I interview other expats, talk about both the difficulties and the rewards of living abroad. Then I share my experiences living in a foreign country and traveling the world with you. This is My Life Abroad, China. 你好，我的名字是 Joey. Welcome to My Life Abroad, China. In this episode, I wanted to tell my story. You know, how and why I got to China in the first place. I've lived around the world, and no, I'm not super rich. I'm just your average American from a small town. And growing up, we weren't even considered middle class. My mom lived paycheck to paycheck, and so did I, until recently. I'm originally from Leachville, Arkansas, and it has a population of 1,915 people. I remember being a kid, that sign only said 1,100. So it has grown a little, probably just due to births. I can't imagine anyone actually moving to Leachville. To get away, I moved to New Orleans at 19, just 1 month before Hurricane Katrina. Katrina changed my life dramatically. I went from being a manager at a telemarketing company to working at the sheriff's office in one of the most devastated areas affected by the storm. I loved my life and my job, but I made a few mistakes and I let a bad relationship affect my decision to leave the sheriff's office. I didn't know what to do, what I wanted to do, or even where to begin, so I started bartending at a bar on Bourbon Street. I feel like that's the go-to job when you live in a city like New Orleans. I started working big events, working on the Natchez Steamboat, working for Mardi Gras, Southern Decadence. I also worked at the Superdome for the Saints football games and concerts. During this time, I also joined the U.S. Navy. A lot happened there and was honorably discharged. So I went back to bartending. But one thing I had always wanted to do was move abroad and visit Italy. That was one of the reasons that I joined the Navy. I wanted to travel. It wasn't the only reason, but it was definitely one of them. But I knew if I went on vacation, I would never want to leave and come back. So I researched teaching English abroad. I knew this was a thing because right after high school, my first year of college, I looked into moving to another country. And honestly, I was too scared to do it. But this time I decided I was going for it. So I jumped in, saved money, went to Florence. I loved it and met some amazing people. Best piece of advice I can give anyone looking to move to Italy, though, is do not go before Christmas. I wouldn't even move there before February because Italy has 2 Christmases and you won't be back to work until after January 7th. Technically, the second one isn't Christmas, but they don't go back to work until January 7th. It's a really long time off, especially if you consider what I did. I took my TEFL course in Florence, so a month of schooling, and then on top of that, the 2 months afterwards with no work. Really, really difficult to do. But with that, I decided to travel to France and Spain during that time with a friend I met in Florence and actually went to the TEFL course with. I had my cash and passport actually taken at the airport in Valencia, Spain. It was sitting underneath my thigh my cash inside my passport, and I leaned over and the guy snatched it and took off running because I had to unpack and repack my luggage. While I was chasing him down, I was lucky and he threw my empty passport back at me, and I stopped, picked it up. There was very little cash left in it. So being completely broke, I decided to go back to the States and start over. I had no idea what I was going to do. I moved in with my mom in Senath, Missouri, another population 1,755. I got a job driving for a medical transportation company, and I saved money while spending time with my family, something I hadn't done in a very long time. I might have come home maybe once a year, if that sometimes, maybe once every other year, for the 10 years that I lived in New Orleans. While living there, I realized I really missed the simple lifestyle that I'd left behind. And I was trying to be more self-sufficient in New Orleans, but it wasn't the level that I wanted. I always made excuses on why I couldn't. That seems to be the number one thing that I do when something gets too difficult. I just make excuses. Oh, I can't do it. I've got to do this instead. So-and-so doesn't want to do that. Well, I decided that I was going to make it happen. I was going to have a more self-sufficient lifestyle and hopefully a homestead, somewhere where I knew that I was going to be, what I was going to be growing to eat, and how my family, my future family, would be raised. I wanted to get away from the GMO products, the crazy rush lifestyle that I've become accustomed to, and all the craziness that I saw while I worked at the sheriff's office. So I decided I would go teach English in China and save money so that in a year I could buy an acre or two of land and start my own homestead and start an all-natural product line of bath soaps, shampoos, lotions, and other things that I manufactured and made myself. So that way I knew what was going into the products and I was using and eventually selling those products. So I did it. I contacted New Life ESL. Brendan talked to me on Skype about the opportunities in China, and he gave me some solid advice. Then Monica helped me prepare for my interviews, and she helped walk me through step-by-step process of doing a demo via Skype. You're literally sitting in front of the computer teaching adults fake information. I sang head, shoulders, knees, and toes and did a lesson on eyes, ears, mouth, and nose, and how to say each of those. So I got the job. That was in June 2014, and I left for Beijing in July 2014, knowing I would hate it and that it would only be a year of my life before I came back home. Never expected to stay in China more than a year. I 100% knew that I would hate everything about it. Well, here I am, over a year later now, in Beijing, and I love everything about it. I love my life. Every day I do have something really frustrating that makes me think, why? I hate that. That's so crazy to me. But that's more, I realized, me being more narrow-minded than looking outside of the box. Not everybody's going to function the same way that we do back home. You have to accept that, especially if you're traveling abroad. It's for the better or for the worse. Sometimes it's a lot better, sometimes it's a lot worse. But every single day I wake up thinking, I love my life. I love being in China. I have a great relationship. I have a great job with great students. And now I had gone way out of my comfort zone and done things I never thought I would do. I realized that while I still want to start my own homestead, I want to have other experiences as well before doing that. And like I said, I have a great relationship, and he graduates university next year, and we'll decide then whether we're going to stay in China or head back to the States and go from there. But while I'm here, I'm teaching some amazing kids again. I have some great friends. I make good money and I'm saving money, something I couldn't do back home. And even looking into opening a store here in Beijing selling the homemade bath products that I want to sell eventually in the States. China is scary, it's exciting, frustrating, new, crazy, full of opportunities, and for now, it's home. I love everything about China again. So, no matter where you start or what you think is standing in your way, we all have goals in life, and if we look at them with an open mind and think outside of the box, you may find unique ways to make those goals come true. Mine just happened to be coming to China and teaching English. Yours may be staying where you are, or coming over to China and trying it out. Who knows? The point is, you have choices. Don't settle and stay stuck in your rut, or in a dead-end job you hate. Change your world. That makes the biggest difference in your personality, in your lifestyle. Change your world. Make yourself happy. Thanks, guys. And don't forget, if you like this video, click the like button. Comment below if you have any suggestions or questions. And if you want to be reminded every time I post a new video, click the subscribe button. Stay tuned for more from My Life Abroad China. Until next time, 再见.